Imagine you went out of the country for work or leisure, now you're stuck abroad, basically somewhere in the world. The war has broken out, and now you are stranded abroad. You cannot come back to your country. By the same airline, your flight is cancelled. You have to find another route, pay really expensive shitload of money to come back, like thousands of pounds to come back to UK. That can be very frustrating because of number one, closure of airspace, secondly, paying a lot of money. That exact thing that happened with me recently. I was in Pakistan, I came from UK, and then I had to come back. The war broke out between USA, Iran and Israel, and I was stuck because the whole Middle East airspace was completely closed. Eventually I had to come to UK for my office, for my work, and then I had to pay thousands of pounds by a different airline to come to UK. And that was really a large chunk of money because my original return flight was like only 150, 160 pounds. I had to pay thousands of pounds, a lot of money out of my pocket. That made me realize the importance of travel insurance. And in this video, I literally be talking through each and every single thing in terms of how does travel insurance work, how does it work in terms of act of war, for example, because there is general perception and the policies generally do say the travel insurance claim is excluded in case of act of war. And then what are the fine prints to take care of, what are the other requirements. I really did discuss a lot with my insurance claim agency in terms of the process. I spent a lot of time, and this video I'll walk you through each and everything of what I did, how I made my claim successful, and then what you should be aware of. So I'll just briefly give you details of what really happened with me first, and then we'll go from there. Let's set up some context first. So basically I chose Gulf Fair. Initially I went from UK to Pakistan, Gulf Fair, all good, all fine, and then war broke out just before I had to travel. My return flight was cancelled because in Bahrain airport, and Bahrain generally there was a lot of drones and attacks basically, so I couldn't go back. The flight was cancelled. I stranded in Pakistan for a few days, 3 4 5 days. I waited and waited in hopes of things getting better, but of course did not get better, and I had to come back eventually for my work purposes to UK. What happened eventually was only Turkish airline and the Pegasus, and all these were working by the Turkey route. I had to pay a lot of money, I think around £1,000 to get a return ticket, and the refund I got from Gulf Air for my return part was around 150, 160, maybe maximum 200. So that left me around 800 dent in my pocket, basically £800, just because of no fault of myself, because of an ongoing war somewhere else between Israel, USA, Iran, even not in Middle East, and then I had to pay that much sum of money. So that's my story. Eventually I came back to UK, but for me the eventual thing was, how do I get that money back from insurance companies, and is it even allowed? So I had my successful claim, but if you see any insurance policy, basically 99% of them will have this clause in that insurance policy does not apply in few circumstances. And among those circumstances, one of the circumstances is basically the act of war. If there's any war ongoing, then insurance companies are not obliged basically to honor their insurance policy. They can reject a claim outright. They are not allowed to. Despite that, I know in the situation, the Iran war, basically some insurance companies were more flexible for Middle East people. But regardless, that's a clause. But I avoided that clause, and I'll talk you through how it worked out basically. So first thing first, for anybody who's watching this video, especially somebody who was supposed to route through Middle East and then their flights were cancelled because of war, this video is really important for you. It may not be that important for somebody who was in the Middle East and part of that active zone, but for somebody like me who was not in a country subject to war. For example, I was in Pakistan. Pakistan is not subject to war. I had to come back to UK. UK was not subject to war, and then the country I was supposed to travel through was Bahrain, and it was also not subject to war. So I claimed that there was no exclusion applied to me because I am not the country that's subject to war. I'm not traveling to country that's subject to war. I'm just flying through. And the civil airspace closure is a civil matter. It's not a military matter. Really, it's not act of war. It's just airspace closure. That was my argument, that I am stranded. My flight is cancelled because of airspace closure. None of the countries involved are part of the war. It's the airspace closure for the safety of the passengers. That was my initial claim, and that's where my claim got started. But if the airlines can claim you that the airspace is closed because of military reasons or because of the war reasons, then you cannot claim that. So make sure to stand on your ground if you're traveling from a country which is not subject to war. An interesting thing here is basically, the travel insurance I got and eventually got a claim was basically free insurance. I have got premier bank accounts here which give free insurance. So basically, without spending any money, really, I literally got benefit of travel insurance because of my existing premier banking relationship. And you can definitely avail that. A lot of bank accounts out there. And even if you don't have the premier travel insurance, the travel insurance is quite cheap. generally. So you should avail that generally, and I think it really helps. Getting back to the topic, how I manage this whole process and how you should be able to do that. So basically what I did is I talked with my insurance provider before traveling, and of course the time is gone now, but now you can still talk to your providers and claim that. Basically what I did is I talked to them. I'm stuck in Pakistan due to a civil airspace closure in Middle East and in Pakistan, because no flights were going there. My flight is cancelled because of that. Never single time I mentioned any war, anything at all. I just stood my ground on civil airspace closure. That's a start point. And then other important thing is to watch a few more things in the policy. You need to be very careful of what's written in the policy, because my policy had very clear guidance that I cannot be out of country for more than 30 days for me to apply for any claim. So make sure within 30 days limit or whatever limit you have in your policy. The policy also said quite a few clauses around UK's FCTO office guidance in terms of Pakistan or wherever you are. The guidance kept changing period on period every week in terms of, and I got the subscription emails coming to me every week in terms of what has been changing week on week. And that was really important, because when I traveled to Pakistan, it was allowed by UK Home Office, UK Foreign Office, basically you can travel, there's no issue, etc. After I went there, the guidance changed. There's some risk involved, etc. We proposed you do not travel, and that really helped me, because if the guidance was initially before my travel to say, oh, you should not travel because there's risk, then the insurance company would have rejected my outcome. That emails, keeping them on my Gmail, really helped me, because I could prove to them that when I traveled from UK to Pakistan, there was no issue. Government had no advisory against it. So that legal element, that advisory element was really critical in this whole conversation to start, to prove out that my claim is legitimate. So again, it's very easy. You go on government FCTO website, you subscribe for your country, generally when you travel, and that really helps. At the same time, you can get the archived advisories as well from the government websites. I think they're really helpful. The other important thing then is, in terms of claim, is my advisor, the insurance advisor, told me, okay, fine, you can take the claim, we'll be able to give you refund. Now you need to book a flight, and your flight need to be of the similar structure in terms of similar class. You should not be booking any first class, for example, business class, just exactly similar. For example, I was in Gulf economy, I had to convert Turkish, I had to go for Turkish economy and nothing else. They did not care enough about the price, but the only question they asked me, why the hell you are reaching out to us after 7 days. There'll be a lot of expenses on hotels, for example, staying abroad, stranded. There'll be dinner expenses, there'll be emergency medicines. Then why you took that much time to get back to us? That's what I told them. Literally, I was waiting for things to get better. I was hoping things will be sensible now, and I'll come back and I won't need to involve you guys. Regardless, so that was an initial thing. Eventually, exactly similar ticket I got. The other important thing I did eventually was my Gulf Air had 35 kgs allowance. Turkish Air was 30 kgs. I again agreed with my insurance providers. I'll be buying 5 more kgs to make my baggage equivalent, and they agreed on that as well, and eventually reimbursed me as well. So it was same to same. You cannot go beyond, but you are allowed to make sure you do enough expense that matches your initial ticket that's cancelled. So that's sort of how it proceeded. Now, actually, before buying my ticket, I actually reached out to the guys again. This is my proposed expenditure based on the prices I can see right now, and this is the net claim that you guys have to provide me. And I got a rugged actually before booking my ticket, and that really helped to sort out any residual issues with that. Eventually, my case was locked for a very strong case. Again, they tried to delay for whatever reason. I think it's just a lot of claims in this period. But I knew the amount, so I told them, reimburse me every single thing, and I'll pay back you guys whenever I receive the refund from my original ticket. But they say, we have to go over the net number whenever you receive the refund. I got my original refund 100% from my old airline. Net number was paid eventually. Now that's one part of the equation, because I was paid basically all the amount of a new ticket plus excess baggage minus refund from an old airline, so like around 700-800 pounds generally. Now there'll be other expenses. I was in Pakistan, I was with my family, so there wasn't a lot of expenses, no hotel costs, etc., or maybe not much food cost. And Pakistan is a cash heavy economy, so did not have receipts for expenses I really incurred in that time. but you are allowed to actually claim your hotel costs. It should be written in your policy. You just read the terms of the policy clearly, but in the policy it might be written that you are allowed to get reimbursement for your hotel costs, your food expenses, for example, and then any other medical expenses, emergency medical treatments, all this stuff. My policy had two clauses very clearly written. Number one was travel disruption, and second was travel delay. And I got claims under both clauses. My travel disruption was purely the cost of my air tickets, and travel delay was around for every 12 hours of delay you are going to be paid £50, and then your cap was £250 in my case. Sometimes your policy can have a much higher cap. So I got my disruption claim, and then I got my travel delay claim of £250 eventually. The thing that I did not do right, and somebody who is having travel insurance and might get stuck in similar situation, is make sure to keep all your receipts at hand. Any food expenses you incurred due to being stranded abroad, any hotel expenses, any medicines, any emergency medical treatment, you are most likely be able to get reimbursement for those as well. Of course, that depends on your policy, what's written in the policy, the limits and claims. But my policy did, my advisor did ask me, did I incur any hotel expenses which I would want to claim, and there's generally a limit on these things. My limit was around 7,500 on all the expenses I could have incurred, but just depends on the policy that you have in place. So eventually I just not recovered my money of the ticket. I expended, and of course some travel delay benefit as well, and that made me appreciate the importance of travel insurance, which I was getting for free completely from a bank account. Even if you cannot get that free from your bank, you can buy that, and that comes really handy. And I realized that importance once I started the claim. Part of the successful claim was my Gemini I used, because that really helped me to structure my arguments. I had to go on calls with advisors for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, a couple of times, just to explain to them what the hell is going on, why my claim is legitimate, what was the FCDO guidance, my expenses, my tickets. I had to explain to them, and then eventually, with a bit of a struggle, you recover all your money that you would otherwise be losing just because you did not care enough, or you did not know about the travel insurance claim and how they can be successful. Now, important thing here to highlight is you can claim as long as you have everything documented. You provide all the proof, everything, because it's very easy for insurance guys to reject a claim. It's probably their strategy. They don't want to give money out to everybody. But if your claim is strong and you can prove every single thing, I think it just makes it easy for you to defend your side of the story. That's the final thing I'd like to say is the war had a very specific exclusion criteria, and whenever you have your travel insurance policy, make sure to read each and every single clause, because I can tell you I spent a day before claiming just to read each and every single clause, where they will ask me, my claim is not valid because of some exclusions. What are my grounds? And I took the grounds of alternate travel disruption and travel delay. And you can just, if you're a sensible person, you understand the legal wordings, I think you can be creating a use of Gemini, and any chatbots will help you to structure your case very well and get a required benefit from the airlines insurance guys as you need to. Hopefully it helps. Thank you so much for watching.